America the Motion Picture came out on Netflix this past Wednesday on June 30th. And it's basically a satirical, revisionist, extremely revisionist, and animated take on the American Revolution. It stars Channing Tatum, Olivia Munn, Bobby Moynihan, Jason Mantzoukas, I'm butchering his last name, and Andy Samberg. And this is also from the guys who gave us Archer, Into the Spider-Verse, The Expendables, and Magic Mike. And now that I really think about all this entire movie, like, do you ever have, like, those kids, like, in school, like, in your class, that were really trying too hard to get attention? That's exactly how this movie feels to me. So, Darius, I don't know, like, how many thoughts that you have on this movie, but
I mean,
yeah, what'd you think of this?
I had a lot of fun with it. I had more fun than I thought. I knew this was going to be ridiculous on every level, especially with the satire comedy. I do feel as if the comedy relied too much, a bit on certain stereotypes. I do think, like, this is just a ridiculous movie. Like, you really have to turn off your brain for this type of movie because it doesn't make any sense at all. And, just, again, to me, it was just fun. I mean, seeing George Washington with 2 chainsaws on his arm is ridiculous, but cool at the same time. They definitely, made certain characters definitely more different. But again, this is where I think it also, struggled because the comedy, I think, was a bit too reliant. It was all over the place, really, too. And the action was almost non-stop. And when they do try to do the drama elements, they just quickly brush it off with more comedy. And so, again, for what this movie was supposed to be, I think it was decent. Again, I had a fun time with it. I was laughing almost all the way through. And it's not really I was laughing with the jokes, but also just laughing at the movie because of how stupid and ridiculous this movie truly is. But the entertainment value is definitely there for me. So,
yeah, man, I wish I was on the same page as you, but like I just felt like this movie tried so hard to be funny, but it just, for whatever reason, just didn't tickle my funny bone. I just felt like the comedic aspect of this film, just fell flat a lot of the times. It just felt like it felt very forced and over the top. I felt like, like certain commentaries that they had was just like, it just felt like kind of cringy, it just felt like very forced.
I mean, that's what I expected, honestly. Like, this felt like that type of movie, so, at least to me.
But even then, like, even when it comes to, like, commentary on certain things having to do with America or whatnot, I'm not saying that, you definitely can't do that. I just feel like this movie didn't do it well. Like, I watched this movie, then, like, the day after I watched, I don't know if you ever saw it, Team America World Police. That movie is hilarious. And I feel like when that movie was a lot more clever in its commentary while being so intentionally bad in so many ways. Like, there's a part in Team America World Police where you could see, like, so many points throughout that movie. Like, it's like, like one of those, like, marionette puppets or whatever. Like, it's like that kind of, I don't even know if you call it animation, whatever you want to call it. That sort of art form. That's the art form that Team America is using for itself, and it's making fun of it along the way because there's this one, quote, action, like, martial arts scene in there, and it's just the puppets, like, they're supposed to be fighting what you'd expect, like, in a regular scene, like, fists being thrown or whatnot, and it's just, like, the puppets just, like, bumping up against each other. It's hilarious. Like, they're doing that just so intentionally, and there are just so many lines in Team America World Police that are just, like, so bad, that was intentional. Again, it's making fun of just, like, certain, like, over-the-top, like, sappy, dramatic action movies. But, yeah, and then, like, it's still, like, having, like, some really clever commentary as far as, like, really American foreign policy and stuff like that. And, like, I just look at Team America World Police, and I look at America the Motion Picture, and I just feel like America the Motion Picture, especially with its comedy, especially with its commentary, it just really frails in comparison to, like, an American satire like Team America. And going back to America the Motion Picture, like, again, the animation I thought was okay. The voice performances, like, I'm not really going to remember any of them. And I'm not going to lie, like, I was disappointed that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller produced something this bad. But at the end of the day, you can't really win them all, right?
Yeah, I mean, like it's weird because it's like this movie, most of the time for me, when it came to the comedy aspects, it was more like I'm laughing at the movie, but at the same time, I was enjoying doing that at the same time. This movie is a weird blend of a mixture of bad, but yet entertaining, at least for me. to a certain level. And you were mentioning about comedy and another movie that was clever. Yeah, again, I think the really big flaw of this movie for me, despite writing, all the stuff, but as far as from a comedy perspective, it's just that it relied too much on certain stereotypes that were kind of just felt bland, and at the same time, even as I'm watching the movie, there's occasions where I'm just like, I feel like I'm staring at a blank, like image, or a blank canvas, and nothing's there, like, and everything is just going by. That's what this movie felt like, and part of me, for me personally, is like, I was kind of fine with that, and at the same time, I wasn't trying to take this movie seriously. I wasn't trying to be like, oh, this comedy or this joke really landed well. I was just like, if I can see George Washington do some dope stuff, cool. I mean, and they already sold me with 2 chainsaws on his arms, and I'm like, that's pretty badass. So, I mean...
And, like, here's the thing, like, that's the attitude that I went into watching this movie with. But at the end of the day, like, it was just, instead of, at least for me personally, instead of being something, like, fun and ridiculous, it was just annoying, It was just really, really annoying. And this is one of those movies that I'm like, I'm happy I didn't see this in the theater, but at the same time, still, this movie was about an hour and a half, and it felt like about an hour and a half too long.
Really?
So, again,
it was an hour and a half? Wow, it felt like 45 minutes or 30. I
envy you.
It felt short. Like, this movie felt shorter than it was, because everything moved so fast. And, again, for this movie, I was, like, it was ridiculous on all levels. Like, I'm definitely going to say, like, to me at least, if I'm thinking critically and all, from that perspective, this is a pretty bad movie. It's pretty atrocious.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I had too much fun. I had too much fun with this.
Yeah. But even then, too, like, there are a lot of times where, like, you can still be entertained by something, and that's not like a cinematic masterpiece, but it's still fine. Like, as a movie, it's still okay, it still works. But, like, even then, like, for me personally, it didn't work on either of those levels.
I mean, I think this also kind of goes to show just how the entertainment, film, and TV industries have kind of shifted to more of, they're treating, I guess, film more of a business and trying to get as much money entertaining, compared to something that's more artistic and character driven, or character philosophical debates and everything. You kind of see this transition, and not just transition, but you see this change in this industry, to the point where, and we've touched upon this before, franchise, sequel, reboots, all that type of stuff, because to them, or at least, I guess, into a certain perspective, it's a quicker way to get money compared to trying to create an emotional, original, gravitating piece that a lot of people can connect with on a universal level, such as loss or grief, and amongst those lines. So I think this movie, to a certain extent, and even other films, we see it day to day, just shows the drastic change in, I guess, people's interests. And I guess you can also see sort of almost a divide of what people actually want and what the industry wants. And how sometimes it's very different, and it fluctuates, and it doesn't really work that well. And so, I mean, like I said, had fun, but at the same time, I was laughing at the movie more than with the movie. So,
yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I remember recently, I think this was after we stopped recording, we talked about movies so far in 2021 that could contend for worst movies of the year. And I immediately gave a shout out to Space Sweepers, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, there aren't a lot of movies that are going to be able to come close. And I'm going to be honest, between this one and Fast and Furious 9, there's some competition. I'll leave you with that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I'm happy you enjoyed the movie. I'll say that. Yeah. Like, whenever I say that, like, oh, I did enjoy a movie when someone else did, like, I'm not, like, trying to, like, rub it in their face or jam it down their throat. Like, I'm honestly kind of jealous of them a lot of times.
Again, for me, I came into the perspective of, like, this is going to be a pretty bad movie, but hopefully I'm having fun. And I had fun because of so many Star Wars references, which is something I never thought was going to be in this, but I had fun with that. So...
yeah. But, yeah. So, Now, again, for all you guys, what did you think of America the Motion Picture? Leave your thoughts wherever you can.